Yeah, so I was just saying the laser cutter company, they will just let me pick up some of the scrap acrylic. So that's 3mm, 5mm clear acrylic and opalescent white as well, which is quite good. Um, One thing about acrylic, if you're doing any kind of modelling tasks or different jobs as well, if you use wet and dry, you can actually abrade the surface a little bit, and it does actually take primers quite well. I use a kind of Zinsta's primer, which is kind of like a hard, what do they call it? It's a primer for surfaces with things like melamine, which are quite difficult to actually take paints. So it's quite a good primer for all sorts of plastics as well. I wouldn't paint HDPE. Problem with HDPE, it's very kind of slick and it doesn't take paint too well. I just realised this video is going to be static because it's mainly me talking about these things and some of the ideas behind it. Because I mentioned briefly that I work in a school, so I'm interested in design technology. So it's really looking at problem solving and sort of thinking, okay, I want to do this, I want to make this bin, I want to have windows in it, I want it to have aeration, I want it to have drainage, I want it to have time-lapse photography, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to have a Raspberry Pi. So it's looking at all the different things you need to do that and how one sort of path of research leads you onto something else as well. So you kind of you learn from doing, and also you build skills from doing this. So I think if people have got different hobbies and different things and they'll make and they'll kind of design, I think if you can just sort of look at all these different tools, even using forums and things like that, you look at it as another tool, and you think, what can I use this for, and how can I apply it? So it's like using router to do this, and then that leads on to something else, and then you might have a Raspberry Pi, but then you might have skills from something else that helps you do that. And also with Facebook groups as well, there's lots of people in a big community, so there's always help out there if you need it. Which is another great thing about these different Facebook groups. They are terrifically supportive, and obviously with lockdown I think people need to get out there, and the importance of community and helping others has never been quite so important really. But going off at another tangent, this was another different material. This is Foamex. This was reclaimed materials as well. This was just salvaged from a scrap bin. I kind of build up a little stock of materials, and it's quite good to, when they get depleted, do some phone calls and emails and sort of see what's out there, because otherwise all this kind of stuff just goes straight into landfill when it gets buried in the ground. I don't really like using plastics, and obviously this is plastic. It's not permanent. It will actually break down, it will disintegrate, and it will need to be disposed of at the end of its lifespan. But obviously you're extending that lifespan many kind of years, and also if you can use something like this and use social media and forums and groups and put a word out there and get people to be interested and share skills and knowledge, then it's really it's done itself a good kind of, it's had a good life, and it's had a kind of second life as well. And then obviously this is recyclable, so you can still break it down. That will go into domestic household recycling. Brass has got a residual value as well. Acrylics, I could even take that to the laser cutter company where I got it from, chuck it in their skip, and jobs are good, and pick up some more materials to make something else from. So yeah, it's very very sustainable, and then it's also fun as well. So it's kind of educational too. So yeah, I kind of like this. What really bugs me though is the fact that it's a white yellow submarine. It needs to be yellow. And I've contacted the company, they're called Eco Stacker, that do these bins, and the guy there, I just went to their director. I thought, well, if you're going to kind of, someone that doesn't really care less, they can afford a few. Hopefully, he just said he's going to check in their sample rooms, sort of see what he's got. But because I'm working in a school, I want to get some of these in schools as well, because it's pretty damn good, isn't it? Really, I mean, look at that. You're going to have all that information, all that knowledge and learning inside there. And then you've got this little novelty door just to sort of see through it. I mean, this is brilliant. When I was a kid, what I was going to say? I was going to say when I was a kid I would have loved this, but I mean, look, that is good. This is vinyl cut, so this is a bit of CAD CAM as well. So this is all cut on the school's vinyl cutter. What bugs me as well is the red and pink. Their contrast is too close, so I've gone for a lighter pink and a darker red, so it pops a bit more. And the nice thing about this little flower motif from the Yellow Submarine is it kind of looks like the segments on a little tiger worm as well. So, and obviously you've got the handle there, which is kind of radiating out from that. So it's quite kind of fun. But I think once I've got the yellow up against that, it's going to really sort of pop out, because it's quite a bright red. So yeah, it needs to be yellow, and that doesn't look yellow on the camera at all, but it is yellow. I think that's all for now. I didn't really want to go into two parts with this, but obviously my my laptop was protesting a bit, so yeah, it's two parts. I don't think anyone will get through to the second part, so it doesn't make much difference. But yeah, I use social media. I'm gonna kind of tweet this as well. What I'm really trying to do is on the allotment, I want to use it as a learning kind of tool for myself, and also as a sort of shop front for permaculture, for vermicomposting, for all the kind of gardening and allotment growing techniques that I use. So I'm really kind of looking, obviously everyone's looking forward to the end of COVID and the lockdown, but during lockdown I'm not working every day at the moment, so I've got a bit more time to do some of these projects, and this is kind of a bit of an indulgence really. It's a bit of a kind of whim, but I can see it having really good sort of applications, and the whole idea doing this on a bigger scale with the same kind of tools, the same sort of processes, but to have more of a kind of grow tower combined with the elements of vermicomposting as well. I think it's fascinating, and if you can make something like this fun, then the learning part is kind of secondary, because the learning will happen when you're involved with it. It's not a lesson. You're doing it because you want to do it, and I think that's really important. So yeah, just like this. This was just routed out with a pattern. I cut the pattern out on a laser cutter, so it's precise, so that fits in there. And the nice thing about using this is you can replicate these items. If you're making these by hand, you could do 1 or 2, but if you wanted to make 16 or 24 or whatever, having the recycled and freely available materials, and the ability to even run this as a workshop in a school, so you can get students and pupils and some parent volunteers helping to put these things together. So you can just see on the bottom there, you've got the holes in there, so that will give you the soil contact. And also these are stackers, they're called eco stackers, so they do stack on top of each other. And the idea is that you can build a tower of these, so you can have a soil feeding station actually buried in the ground. There's holes drilled in the side. The worms will actually go through those holes, and then they will move up into this one if that's on top, and then they'll, once they depleted the food at the bottom, they'll move on to the one here. Yeah, so that's really all for now. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's good fun. And obviously I've got to finish off the grass in here, and there will be a kind of world wire meshed tower inside. And if you look through, I've actually got another bottle top just down here in the centre, and that will locate the bottom of the tube, so that kind of supports it. And the idea is when you stack these up, you've got the kind of through aeration. And this is just a rubber door trim, but I said this is kind of like a prototype one. It's a slightly different container, so I've got to cut it off slightly higher, and then that tapers in, so that'll close up and it'll be a nice tight fit on the lid. But otherwise, I mean, it's pretty good. It's all working quite well. But I think that's about all for now. Thanks for watching if you still are, and I'll speak to you or see you shortly.